for those watching that have watched golf, the most famous one ever was when Jordan Spieth was like falling off during the Open. Like he had a huge lead and was slowly losing it. He shanked this shot so far. Sorry, the dogs are going nuts. But he shanked the shot so far, and the course they were playing was very, very hilly, so he didn't have any view of the the pin. So he ended up having his caddy run up the hill to kind of basically be in line with the pin.
Yeah, so you could see
he'd get a mark. But then his caddy had to leave. So you can't have someone just stand there and be like, hit it over top me, you're good. But you can have someone basically let you know, like, this is where the direction of the pin is. So I had the same situation happen to me on one of the holes at D-Glow. I was way down this hill, and the basket was way up the hill, and I couldn't see the basket. So I basically had my caddy at the ready of when all the players were done throwing. He was already kind of up the hill already, and he could just kind of run over real quick and get in line and be like, all right, this is the direction, whatever. And Simon was like, I don't think you can do that. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I don't think you're allowed to do that. And I remember specifically maybe it was either last year's D-Glow or 2 years ago on hole 3, someone had thrown a shot right of the hole 3's basket, which is, again, in that crap to where you can't see anything. And he had someone like shake the chains of the basket so that he could get an idea of where the basket was. And I definitely remember that, which I don't know if that's legal or not. But essentially, Simon was correct. This is illegal. You're not allowed to have someone tell you.
Even before you throw?
Correct. You also aren't allowed to have a bag. You can't like put your bag in the fairway.
I know during a throw you can't. But like you can't have someone before you throw.
And I thought I was playing it the same way that you would play it in golf, where you could have someone tell you, but then they have to leave, right? They can't stand there.
Yeah, you can't use it. Because like I remember it was Lisa Fakis.
Lisa Fakis did it with her bag. Yeah.
Yeah, and Valerie Jenkins at the time was like, that's such a smart play, but it was like completely against the rules. But like she was throwing towards her bag and knew if I lay up just shy of my bag, I'm good.
Correct.
But I thought it was complete. I mean, I don't understand. I'd have to look at the rule. I've never heard the rule that you can't have someone do it before you throw. That's kind of wild.
So we had a funny like little interaction because then I asked Simon, I was like, okay, well, what happens? And he's like, warning. And I was like, okay, sorry. And then I went because what does happen? Like, is it a stroke penalty?
Yeah, it already happened.
Yeah. I mean, if he would have been like, I think you get stroked, then I would have been like, all right, I get stroked, and then let's figure it out after the round. But the interesting thing was after the round, I talked to one of the PGA officials just to see like what's up, because my whole thing is disc golf rounds already take way too long for what we're doing out there. They already take way too long, and we already have so many backups of why are we adding something that potentially is going to have more backups, right? And I told him too, I said, okay, so in this scenario, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about a little bit about the European Open, of where if you've thrown, the 5 discs that you've wanted to throw and they're all OB, you can essentially go run out there, grab them, and get a courtesy warning. So that's what I was asking. I was like, okay, so is the correct thing for me to do then in this situation? Because 100% the correct thing is not for me to throw without having any idea where the basket is. That should never be the play. So I was like, is the correct thing for me to run up the hill, get a idea of where the basket is, then run down the hill and get a courtesy warning for not throwing within 30 seconds? Is that the correct thing? And he said, actually, you wouldn't get a courtesy warning because your 30 seconds doesn't start until you address your lie. And when you address your lie, what that basically means too is if you have to go to try to figure out where the basket is or where you're trying to throw, that is all a part of getting ready to address your lie. So
someone said you can't determine your lie until you know where your target is. I don't know how accurate that is, but
no, that's what I just said.
Okay.
Yeah, so your 30 seconds doesn't actually start until you know where you're throwing and you're behind your disc, essentially. And so, which proves my point of where this is just a rule, in my opinion, of where
did you get the official agreed with Simon that someone can't go up there and show you where the basket is before you throw?
I think he said you're allowed.
Where is that in the rule book?
I don't know, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he agreed.
Because the only thing I can find is a player must not stand or leave their equipment where interference with a disc in play may occur, which is like the bag situation. And then I'm trying to find anything else about that. I mean, I'm briefly looking right now. I've never looked this up before, but I'm struggling to find it. 'Cause that's like interference. I can look at misplay.
yeah,
This says Rule 813.02.a that
813.02, illegal device.
Yeah.
Placing an object as a directional aid is not allowed. So a caddy's an object?
yeah.
But is that even a directional aid? What does that even mean? Because I place my mini towards the basket. Is that a directional
that's
aid?
true.
Not really. I mean, we can see, but you can see how I'm.
But I'm in my mind that is during my throw. That's assisting my throw.
It's the same. Yeah, it's the same kind of thought process too. Of you shouldn't really have your caddy be allowed to stand behind you and be yeah, you're lined up, and they have to, when you're about to throw, they have to leave, if that makes sense, right? You can't. You don't want to.
But they can help you line up the shot. We saw Emily Beach's caddy help her with every single shot.
It's more so for golf, of where you can't the caddy, when you for putting, you can't have your caddy stand behind you when you putt. They can initially stand behind you to be yeah, you look good, and then they have to leave before you actually start your stroke, right?
Yeah.
And that makes sense. In disc golf, this rule just doesn't make sense because, in my opinion, this only makes it to where it's literally taking up more time. I'm having to go up there and I'm going to get the same information as if someone else did it, but it's just going to take way more time. So
I just don't. I would argue that it's
interesting
not
one.
a rule.
Okay,
I don't think it's a rule.
and maybe someone can find it for us, but
Because it has to be this placing an object as a directional aid, but to me that is in your part of throwing.
if he would have stood there, I would agree.
If you're throwing towards
over
him,
top
and you're
of him.
oh, I just got to get over him and I'm there. But
if he's there and
to
then
me,
leaves,
it's the same as I'm pointing at the basket and then I walk backwards down the hill, still pointing at the basket. So when I get to my
but
line,
you're doing
I know where the
that.
basket
I think
is.
that's the difference.
Or-
Is you're doing that versus someone else is doing that. So we'll see. Maybe the PDGA
I don't know,
guy.
it's very
Maybe
curious.
it's not an actual rule.